Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Coach Diana and Coach Jen here, and I'm just going to set us up on Instagram as we get started, and then we'll dive right in.
Yeah.
Here we
We're
go.
so grateful to be here with you today. We have a really interesting topic. Our topic today is how to cultivate wellness in a challenging marriage or relationship. And so we're just wondering probably what brought you here today. Like to ask the question in terms of when we're talking about cultivating wellness in a challenging relationship, I wondered if you could think of a challenging relationship that maybe brought you here today, and what comes to mind for you when you think of challenging relationships? As we welcome you online.
Yeah, I think yeah, I see everybody
Yeah.
coming on. So we'll just dive right in and let people catch up with us.
That's
Can you hear
good.
me okay? Is it glitchy? Okay.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. It's really important that something attracted you to this topic today. And we also love all of our faithful followers. Leslie adores you as well. So sometimes you just tune in, just you're just faithful that way and you can learn something even if it doesn't resonate with you. But if this particular topic when you saw it kind of made you go, I got to be there today. Let's hear your why was this important to me? Why am I showing up today? Now, having said that, remember this is Leslie's public page, so people can see what you comment. So you might think of it as why would this be important to somebody else for showing up today? So you can word it that way if you like. We also have our support team. It looks like Julie's with us now, so thank you.
Julie?
Yeah, Julie's here now. So Julie can help us. And if you have a question that you really want to ask us about today's topic, then we encourage you to use the link that Julie will put into the chat so that you can have an anonymous and safe way to ask your question, if not here in the comment section. So
Actually, Jessica today we've got.
yeah, well then Julie said she'd take over.
Oh, I'm lost.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay. We've got
Well,
someone helping.
some people have electricity out. I think so. We're switching hands quite a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so let's hear your reason for why this topic spoke to you. Put it into
Yeah.
the chat. We'd love to know that we're hitting the mark with some of these
Yeah,
important
Jen.
topics.
When you think of challenging in the context of relationships, what comes to mind for you in terms of some challenges you might have faced? I can
Yeah.
think of some difficult work relationships I've had
Yeah.
that have been challenging for me.
Yeah.
Stressful. Stress is one word that comes to me.
Yeah. Actually, let's talk about the workplace type of thing for a minute.
Okay. Sure.
I like that because the reason why, because I've had them too, and you've had them.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think, is because unlike relationships where we chose that person under whatever circumstances, shared values, shared faith, shared whatever at one point in our lives, okay? We don't always have that option of choosing who we get to work with.
And we're kind of stuck, aren't we? Well, we're stuck with family too,
Yeah,
to
I
be honest.
suppose. I
But
suppose.
but with work, it feels a little bit different,
Yeah.
but it can be so challenging and so exhausting and so stressful to be with someone or whether it's a coworker or a boss that is challenging to you. It can really take over the flavor of your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this just hit me. In
Okay.
fact, it's more similar maybe than I just was giving it credit for, because let's say, and I know this isn't for everybody, and especially if you're not even working, here you've got all these challenges in the workplace,
Yeah.
but you can't quit or you don't want to quit because you have a pension, you have a good paycheck, you have benefits.
Right.
So you stay. Like a marriage, maybe it's your faith, maybe it's because of kids, maybe it is because of money. You stay, but here's this conflict within you and these challenges, but there's a reason for you staying. Anyway, I might have just diverted there, but that
Well,
just came to me.
well, so yeah, and that kind of stimulates my thoughts in terms of it can feel very stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a marriage or, I know, so, if it's like a parent or a child, you can always move away from that, but if it's a partner or if it's a work relationship, we may feel stuck for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we do have a definition in the chat. Dorothy's saying that a challenging relationship is one that feels uncomfortable, unheard, misunderstood, and dismissed.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah. I often feel challenged, and I've worked in work situations and I've had family situations where I would add to that definition a challenging relationship for me, Jen, is where someone doesn't steward their emotions well. And and as a result of that, I am feeling the brunt of them not knowing how to manage their emotions or regulate their emotions, whether it's anxiety,
Anger.
yeah, all of those things. And so when you're in a relationship with somebody else, you're feeling that.
Yeah. And then to build on what you just said, you're either feeling it and then having to work with it, or you're feeling it and then trying to manage it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's challenging.
Either way, because we're
Oh,
either
yeah.
over functioning and taking responsibility for someone else's emotions to make it go away or make me less hurting less,
Exactly.
or we stuff it, or we just have to live with it, and it just have to is not a pleasant place to be, right? So
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that's good. That's really good. Good for you. Thank you for everyone's participation. We want
We
this to be dynamic.
we got a bingo here.
From my Canadian sister, we got a bingo. Woohoo. Yeah, and Betsy's saying it's very challenging. Yeah. So Betsy or anyone else, keep adding to that definition. I think we're on a roll here. So
We are, and when I think about, so, you guys say get good with the definitions, but like what in particular is challenging about that? I know I can speak for myself that when I'm around someone and they're intense, whether it's anger, frustration, or I don't know, anxiety, um, it's not just stressful for me, like, I physically don't feel well.
mm,
I end up getting tense myself, right? And then when I get tense and I'm absorbing someone else's stress, the next thing that happens is my prefrontal cortex goes off board, and then I'm just a little spacey, and I can't think. So I'm wondering, what in particular do you notice when you're in a challenging situation? What's the effect to you?
yeah. So Christina just wrote the negativity is both triggering and draining. So Christina, whether you're comfortable putting it into the chat or for anyone else out there, yeah. So when I get triggered, I experience what? When it's draining, I think I know what that means, but what does that mean to you, Christina? Like, I don't have physical energy. I don't have, like Diana, I don't have mental capacity right now. When the life gets sucked out of me like that because of someone else's challenges that I'm being posed with, and you're drained, how does that translate? How would I know you're drained? Does the color leave your face? Do you go to bed? What happens to you? So I like that, Diana, that you've challenged us to look at, not only what the initial concern is, but then what's the challenge within me?
Yeah.
Do I have self-doubt?
Well,
Do I question the Lord's role in this? Do I
yeah.
feel like do I start over functioning? Do I lose sleep? Like what? There's a gamut of things here.
Feel like giving up. I mean,
Mhm.
and I love what we're talking about because the first thing we need to do is be aware of what's happening and its effect on you. Because I think a lot of times what sometimes I think even I've done in the past is blame myself or
Mhm.
just try to endure it rather than recognizing that it's kind of like a barrage coming at me that I get to choose what I want to do with it.
Yeah, that's great. I see some things here, panic and headaches, fog brain. Oh,
Mm.
yes, that's a big one. I've experienced that. Trauma fog is what I call it. I
Yeah.
get stressed and tense,
Yes.
upset
TMJ.
stomach, weary, chest tightness, TMJ. I know enough to be dangerous. That's often, Diana, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's often a sign of anger, the tightness in the jaw.
Well, it can be.
TMJ.
It's definitely a sign of stress and
Yeah.
overload, anger. I actually have that, but it's more in the neck muscles,
Mhm.
and that's dangerous. It for me is causing some hearing issues
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's kind of squelching the nerve up there. So this stuff has a real implication
Yeah.
to our brains and our bodies, which is why we're here to talk about what it looks like on the other side. But we're not ready to go there yet.
No, no, no. But Gabrielle says something about ways of escaping. Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be the healthy thing we need to do. And other times we escape to things that maybe aren't so healthy. So I'm not saying this is what Gabrielle's doing, but Leslie's talked about, sometimes we escape to a bottle of wine or too much of anything, right?
Food,
Too much
food.
exercise, food, shopping, whatever, as a way to distract. Other times it's healthy because we escape and we just go out to nature and pray to God for a minute. Like there's balance there, right?
Right. So I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm interested to know from everyone who's listening right now is how often do you notice this happening in your body and pay attention to it as a clue to what's going on? If you're able to pay attention to that and you're tuning in that your body is speaking to you about what's okay and what's not okay, put a 1 in the chat.
Yeah.
Like, I know what's happening, I'm listening to it, and it's good information. If that's you, put a 1. Because
Mm-hmm.
the reason I wanna mention that, Jen, is because so often we're not even aware.
Nope. I couldn't pinpoint it. And to this day, I still think it was the Holy Spirit kind of tapping me about what my husband was doing. So for those that don't know, came from a betrayal trauma background at the expense of my husband. So I had these experiences, Diana, that all I could do is say I was so churned up in here with my anxiety in my abdomen, like, but not butterflies, but like, when you're anxious and it's like that nervous, but over the
Oh,
top.
yeah.
The
It's
way I
digest
used to describe it was like
Mhm.
as though I was about to go and give this major presentation in front of the board of directors where I used to work. And I was like, and I would look around, literally, I would sit at my desk and look around going, but I'm not presenting. I've got nothing going on right now. Why am I so anxious? And then I would make up because I don't like feeling things. I wasn't ready for the discomfort, physical or emotional. And I would start making excuses for why. And not that I would have really been able to go, oh, my stomach's churning, therefore my husband must be cheating on me. Okay, I'm not going to make that leap. But I didn't pause long enough to go, God, what are you trying to tell me? Or what do I need to do with this? Or how do I resolve the churn so it doesn't make me lose sleep? I would just blow it off, blow it off. So we're
What do you
here to
think?
ask you to be aware and then maybe pause long enough to go, what do I want to do with this?
So what do you think that message was
To
for you?
pause. It was to pause.
And notice what?
Yeah, just take in what's going on around me. I think there were signs, not that what my husband was doing, but things weren't right. There were challenges in my marriage that I didn't want to face.
And I think the message is, "I'm not okay in this."
Yeah, I no, my body was screaming at me, something's
Yeah.
wrong, and I wanted to ignore it.
Yeah, and
You're
that's,
right, bang on. That's good. Thank you. Bang on. Yep.
yeah, I mean, and honestly, if we're in, a challenging situation and it's an ongoing situation and we're not paying attention, your body starts speaking to you, and, really, we're out of that window of tolerance zone, and that's where I was also wondering, were you having digestive issues as well? Because the stomach is usually where those things happen.
No, it was just the nerves, the
Just the
anxiety.
nerves.
Yeah, just
Okay.
the anxious, like you're about to give a speech in front of a million people and your life depends on it kind of feeling. Yeah.
I don't like that for my friend. I don't like that you had to go through that.
I did, but thank you. And I love you for that. But it's true. And I'm hearing like Gabrielle can relate to that, like I'm making excuses. So we're here to beg you to know that you're in a safe place here. You're in a safe place. And we'll talk about this in a minute with Walking in Core Strength. If you join one of our groups, it is a place to have a soft landing to kind of go, this is
Yeah.
scary. I'm not used to feeling uncomfortable, but you guys can coach me or comfort me and hug me through this because I didn't have that, didn't know I needed it. And if it had been exposed to me like this, I think I would have taken someone up on it. I would have been nervous, but brave enough to go help me,
Well, yeah.
you know?
Because
But
I think too often we make excuses for it, or we're not really seeing what the message is, you
yeah,
know?
but I love it. I didn't see you even boiled it down for me. This is what I love about coaching. Diana just coached me in the moment and naturally when you went, whoa, Jen, it's just, I'm not okay. I don't have to have all the answers. I was still jumping to I was still in my head,
I'm
trying to
not
figure it out.
okay.
And you
Simple,
just went,
yeah.
Jen, that's all it's telling you right now. Bottom line is you're not okay. You don't know with what, but you're just not
Well, yeah.
okay.
Well,
That's part of
you notice you're not okay, and then you step into curiosity. And so,
mhm,
like if you're in something that is challenging,
mhm.
any relationship, whether it's your marriage or not, those are some real physical cues, right? That bear attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a comment in the chat from Lorna, and in her situation, it's a physically demanding work environment.
Mm,
It's healthy, but the challenge of the physical demand is a lot on her body. And
mhm.
I worked in corporate for a long time before I became a people helper. And boy, did we work in high stress. And I loved it. I enjoyed the work. I enjoy that kind of, challenge.
Mhm.
Um, but I do notice that I'm sure my nervous system was crying out, Diana, you need an outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true. And thank you again for all the comments coming in. This makes it
Yeah.
such more interesting conversation to have with you all. So yeah, so when we've talked about the challenges, and so we'd like you to either take this away or put into the chat. I love what you said, Diana. We become aware and we notice, and then we're asked to be curious.
So yeah, the question is then, if you're noticing that you're having a response, whether it's in your mind or whether it's in your body, or maybe sometimes it's spiritual, like you said, Jen, like
Mhm.
we're tired, we're ready to give up, we're questioning things, our thoughts don't tend to be productive in a positive way.
Mhm.
Um, how do we cultivate that wellness? But you and I had talked earlier before we even talk about cultivating wellness. What does wellness mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You get to
Right.
define that for yourselves, because it means different things to different people. So let's move on to that for now. Let's get all these sort of descriptive words out there so anyone can learn from each other. What does wellness either mean to you or just mean in general, if that's safer for you to put into the chat? So define wellness for us. Dorothy, she has a really good she's a walking dictionary.
Where is Dorothy? I missed that one.
um so yeah, so talk to us about what that really looks like, right? So
Mhm.
what does it mean to you, Diana?
Oh, mercy. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is balance.
Mm,
And so when I think about wellness, I'm always looking at my life in all of those areas in terms of how do I achieve a mental, a physical, emotional, and spiritual balance, right?
yeah,
So, and we do that a little bit with our coaching. When we do our individual coaching, we kind of assess those kinds of things that are working and not working.
yeah.
Um, and so, what wellness means to me is that I am happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healthy physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and I'm walking in wholeness. In other words, Jen, I'm walking in core. So, we've been doing this work for a while, you and I here with Leslie Vernick and Company, and I think I've expanded what I would consider wellness, and a part of what I'm called to now is really walking in some of those core principles that we teach and coach around. And it's interesting to me that as long as we've been doing this, I'm still challenged to live authentically in so many ways and to
Mm-hmm.
speak truth to myself. I'm finding, things that I hadn't uncovered before as I'm peeling off the layers. Looking at when we talk in terms of wellness, what does it look like to respect my body when it's crying out to me for something else? So, and being responsible for it. So just one simple example. And sometimes I'm always learning in hindsight. Like if I'm hungry at night and I have a craving for sugar, I'll go grab a cookie in the cupboard and then my stomach starts reacting. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so I'm learning to be responsible to my stomach and to respect it and what it really needs rather than what I think I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's good. I love that. And I'm hearing some comments in there about they're loving your balance idea, walking in core, peaceful and positive environment helps us feel well. And everything you said, I agree with wholeheartedly. And I would add in financial and social as well. So
Thank
to
you.
me, having that, I don't want to be, physically fit, but then financially not be a good steward of my money and then stressed about that. That's not good balance. Like, what do I need to do to shore every one of these things
Right.
up? Right.
Yeah.
Socially, am I isolated? Has my partner isolated me in some way through abuse? Or am I just not a really outgoing person? Am I neglecting my friends because of something else in my life? Like what? And if that's important to you and yet you're holding back, Maybe there's a lack of balance with being social, getting out of the house, doing fun things, right? So to me, that's important to have,
Mm.
external stimulus as well as the internal through the Lord. So, and through what goes on in my house, I
Do
think
you
is really important.
do you find, as you're talking, I was just thinking and wondering if you think that sometimes what wellness looks like is asking yourself the question, "Why am I doing this? And why am I doing this now?"
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
what's my purpose and what's my motive? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, I think for me, that kinda ties into intentionality, like, so if I'm gonna cultivate wellness, so we're looking really right now, what we're talking about is wellness within ourselves,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And, so what the reason that we're tying this in is because when you're challenged outside of you in those relationships, or God forbid, if you're in a marriage that challenges you regularly, cultivating wellness starts within, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I ask the question, "Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this now?" I'm thinking like the last time I went shopping, and I went shopping with my sister in, my favorite store, TJ Maxx,
Yes.
and they got all these high-end purses in, and, my sister's having so much fun helping me buy them, and I'm like, I get home and I'm like, "Why do I have this?" That was not wellness, you know what I mean? And so, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this now? It was fun in the moment. Was it necessary? Was it helpful? Was it really cultivating the type of wellness that I want in my life, which is order, discipline, simplicity, right?
Mhm. Mhm. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And I think, that's a great example too for us to just, as you were talking about us getting right with our internal selves, because we can't to a certain extent control any of the external. We can remove ourselves from a stimulus or from something, but we can't control another person or their morals or their values or their moods. Or
Oh,
so
yeah. So let
what
me
we
tell you
want to
what.
do is focus on ourselves, right? Because
Right.
that's all we can do. So as Leslie was talking about, for those that might have participated in the webinar last week, I mean, I love this title. I'm not okay when you're not okay. And how do we flip that around? Okay, maybe you're not okay, but I still need to be okay. I can't be regulating by you. I need to regulate myself.
Here's the thing, I was shopping with my sister, and what we discovered what I discovered that I was challenged in my relationship with her because we were raised shopping. Southgate, USA, that's what we used to do every weekend, And, it was so fun to be with her and to share those moments, and she likes to shop, but what I found was challenging in my mind, I had to ask myself, "How can I spend time with her, but not in a way that compromises my wellness financially, right? Or, logistically, because I have too much I already need to get rid of." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, adjusting the perceptions in my mind about how I want to do this relationship and why I want to do this relationship was so helpful for me. So I didn't
Yeah.
have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And
Nope.
so we had a conversation around that. And sure enough, she was able to think through some things she was doing in that area as well. So now we walk instead of shop. Cultivating wellness, cultivating
So I
relationship and
love
wellness.
that. I I love it. And what you really talked about there, Diana, is understanding and being aware of your values.
Well, yeah, for both
Because
of us.
you obviously, well, you have a value for fun, I heard, right? And we were having fun
Yeah.
shopping and it was,
Oh, we always have
hitting,
fun. Yeah.
that dopamine hit or whatever, it was lighting you up. And that's beautiful. And we can all have a value for fun. And at the same time, you're like, but long term, I value order and consistency and fiduciary, not spending too much money. And so the short term fun got outweighed by, I don't need more purses. Now it's clutter. Now I spent too much money. And so you found a way to marry the two. So I have this relationship that I value and I want to have fun, but now I'm going to do it in a way that still honors my wellness, my order, my need for whatever. And now you walk and still get to spend time with your sister.
Me too. Yeah,
Yay.
cultivating friendship in a healthier way. So it doesn't always have to mean that we move away. I used to be an all or nothing kind of person. And in my mind, in the past, I would have processed this as she's bad for me. You know what I mean? Rather than taking agency and what can I do differently in this? And how can I, really almost even influence both of us in a better direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Yeah, because you live by example and people catch on to that whether they realize it or not. So
Yeah.
I think that's great. So don't forget, if you have any questions about this, what it's like to cultivate wellness in a challenging relationship, please either put them into the chat or use the link that we provide to, do it anonymously. And Diana and I will absolutely do our best to get to your questions in the time that we have left. So please feel free to do that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. So she's put it in there for you to highlight that and go in and do that. And please only ask your question once if you can. So we've talked about wellness and what that looks like. Now, what does it mean to cultivate? Let's break down all these big words today.
Love that word.
I do too.
All
No
right.
idea.
What does it mean to cultivate? How would you? And so we're going to ask you. And while I'm pulling up a definition,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I like this. I like this definition. All right, I'm going to give you some synonyms while you ladies are coming up with some definitions as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, cultivate means to acquire or develop, and I like pursue, work hard at, foster, nurture, encourage. So, yeah, we want to cultivate wellness despite what's happening outside. So, if we have ground that isn't really fertile or that's tough. What do we call that? Fallow ground?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I got chills this morning as we were praying and talking about this as I was talking to Diana earlier. And yeah, cultivate. I don't know. Put a 1 in the chat if you like to garden, because that's where my head went.
I'm learning to
I
garden.
want to know if you don't have to be good at it. Just say you like it because as soon as I saw that word cultivate, I instantly thought of gardening because we talk about cultivate. I've got a cultivator, right? It's that fork
Right.
thing that you use to churn up the soil and loosen it up so the water and the nutrients get stirred up. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Rhonda. And so to me, cultivating a garden is all those words that you just described. I'm nourishing it. I'm
Right.
tending to it. I'm caring for it.
Yeah.
All of those things. And the Bible talks a lot about like the seed in the fertile soil versus the fallow soil, or the soil that's rocky versus nutrient rich. The Bible talks about all of our journeys, where in some cases, some of you here right now might be just at, you're not even at the seed planting stage yet. You're just looking at the seeds in your hand. And then some of you might be at the planting part. And then we know that seed breaks open and develops into something. And that's where someone else comes along and waters it. So you might be someone's watering you right now. Maybe walking in core strength is the watering phase for you, whereas it's planting the seed for others. And then for some of you, you're ready to be harvested. This is just the cherry on top. I'm ready to be harvested. I've done a lot of work, but I needed something to help solidify it for me with a bunch of strong women, fearless women that are going forward with this. And that's what I love about the word cultivating, and especially with wellness, because we can work together as a team and nurture each other and pull this out for each other.
So and what we're trying to do, I mean, there's such a good parallel. I'm so glad you came up with this analogy. How do we cultivate our growth? And I like the words growth and transformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we're transforming from a seed to a beautiful flower, which is flourishing, what does that really look like? And what do we need to cultivate that? Like, what's the fertilizer that we use? And we use one another because, individually, right? Your relationship with me cultivates so much within me. And then also our work as a team. When and we've experienced that quite a bit last fall when we were all together.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was just such a testimony of the power of community and like-mindedness and similar values. And I love that about the work that we do. And, we cultivate that as well when we get to do our work in our groups, right, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We want to do that. So let's talk about our groups for a minute and what they look like, Diana. And while you think of your questions, feel free to post them in the chat or use that link so that we can get to them. But yeah, let's talk about, our groups coming up, starting the week of March 11th. Let's talk
Quick.
about that. So, how do you describe and how do you feel about working with these women in those smaller groups?
Well, here's the thing. The first thing you say, I love their faces.
Yeah.
Like when they come on screen, so we'll have like 15 in a group, right? Um, and when they all pop on screen, I'm happy to see their faces.
Yeah.
And I believe that they're happy to be with one another. The format that we use is not intimidating. It's relational, right?
Mhm.
And but it is like, I think earlier in the chat, who was it that gave us that definition about being seen
Mm.
and being heard and being known? I mean, in a context of safety, I mean, we're going to challenge ourselves, but we are going to cultivate wellness. And we're going to cultivate wellness in our groups, specifically core strength, with some foundational principles that will help ground us, right, as we move forward. And we're all on this journey together. So 90 minutes every other week, 6 weeks is a small commitment. There's a financial cost, of course. Um, but I'm just I've never regretted any of the financial costs that I put into my own growth. That's just a part of who I am as a person. But I think, Jen, a big part of this group work that we do is really redefining who we are as women.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, because oftentimes, I was just talking with my friend earlier about how we lose ourselves unintentionally. And we think you talk about challenging relationship. How about being a parent,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That, that's like the ultimate challenge because they don't come with a guidebook and you're right. And so this is a chance really to rethink of who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And yeah, in that group environment, like you said, it's relational, it's safe, it's like-minded women, and you don't have to come from the same story background. Like I said, some of us are just seeds, some of us are being watered, some of us are ready for harvest.
Yeah.
Some of us are married, divorced, separated. It could be a child issue. It could be a work related issue, a friend issue. It's the point that we're willing to step into learning about ourselves. Like I was saying, I wasn't even aware that I needed to listen to what my stomach was churning about. This would have been perfect for me 15 years ago. So I could get, with my truth. The truth is I'm not okay. I don't know why yet, but I'm not okay. And all the subsequent steps. The O is open to wise counsel,
Well,
Holy Spirit. R, being responsible for myself, and E, having empathy without enabling. I was
it's
doing all of those. I was not doing those things, and I wish I was.
right.
So I think
It's
that's important.
Yeah, it's a chance to look at what's going on through a deeper lens with some help
Yeah.
with the curriculum and the help of your coach and some wise others in your room. We do learn from one another.
Mhm.
I see Mary saying, cultivating to her is turning the ground in those hard stuck areas and that seeing things that you wouldn't see but that others can uncover for you. And I think I learn, I'm always piggybacking off of like, oh yeah, Jen, yeah, she said that, I'm going to apply that to my life, right?
Yep.
And that's true. I think mentoring, it's really mentoring, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It
Yeah.
really is. It's a sisterhood. We're coming together.
Yeah.
It's collective wisdom. It's, three a cord of three strands is stronger, right? So we bring
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit into our groups, of course, and we call on him through prayer at the beginning and the ending of our time together. And we allow him to just do his work while we're there, but it's also the work that he does through you and
Yeah.
to others, right? So it's just such a really powerful time together, and I always come away learning so much. I really do, about people's hearts and their courage and they don't even realize it sometimes until they get amongst other women that, hey, I did okay there.
Yeah.
It's
So
really uplifting. Yeah.
bright pages saying recognizing my boundaries before being pushed past them would be helpful. And
Yeah.
that really is a part of developing your core understanding. I didn't, on rethinking or even formulating your boundaries for the first time. You're getting a
Mhm.
well-spoken, Jen. um
Well, I think that could be you. There's a delay. So
I don't know. But here's another definition, moral fortitude.
Yeah.
I've not
Wow.
heard that word, so I looked it up. You wanna hear what it says?
Yes.
It says in the physical realm, I love this definition. Fortitude is often labeled guts and it's synonymous with courage. That was a good one. Thanks for putting that in chat. Those who exemplify fortitude are able to overcome fear, and in this case, of bodily harm or fatigue to fulfill their duty. In the moral realm, when you exemplify fortitude, you stand firm on your values, moral principles, and convictions. That is cool. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yay.
That's a
See,
good one.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Either did
Wow.
Diana. And here we are, the collective wisdom of this powerful group. This is
I
amazing.
put it in the chat so you ladies have it.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
If you have a question, we're here to answer questions around how to cultivate wellness, and we are going to give maybe some parameters around wellness, so you have something to take with you. But
Mhm.
if you have questions around challenging relationships and how do I cultivate wellness, just please put them in the chat,
Mhm.
or you can use our question tracker as well
Yeah.
if you want to be anonymous.
Mhm. Yeah.
We're also here, we're also here with a horn to say if it's time for you to do some work and you can take the time, you can, and you have the resources of time, energy, and finances, join us in a group. We have just 1 week left, and then we won't be offering this again until next fall. So you'll have to wait till next fall.
Mhm.
But think through when would be a good time for you to do it. But I think the biggest question I like to ask is what will be different when you do?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if even just hearing about how to cultivate wellness
Yeah.
amongst other sisters going through something similar.
So here's a question Mary's asking us. I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
What have we gotten out of doing the core program if I did it back then? And what am I learning? And what are you learning yourself
Yourself.
teaching
Yeah.
this program? How has it changed us?
Yay. You'd think we planted Mary or something. That's a good question. Okay. Do you want to go first? You've been doing this longer than I have. So
I love okay, and Liza, we're waiting for you, Liza.
yeah,
We'll
we
look for
are.
you on the phone. I would say the one of my biggest ahas from doing core work, which I'm still doing my core work because we talk about this. We are always uncovering ways in which we need to walk in core.
Mhm.
Um, and I always like to say in deeper levels, but sometimes I haven't seen the simple things, and God is just continuing to change me. This is a process we'll be doing until the day we die. I think my biggest like I said, I'm learning how to be respectful of myself rather than caring more for others and throwing myself under the bus. That's really the R in core. And I think the biggest piece that I have learned is that I get to have a core and I get to define what that looks like. But a huge part of that for me is what are the ways in which in my life that I'm not speaking truth to myself about who I am, what I'm experiencing, what relationships I'm in. I've always invited others to speak into my life, but I've not always invited wise others. And so to be more discerning, and we can talk about what core is, but the power and the magic of doing it in the context of group coaching is really the transformations. You can have aha awarenesses till the cows come home, but to really walk it out in action, and that's what we're
Yeah.
focusing on. And so it's got to be an intention for me to think about and to uncover the ways in which that I'm still not seeing truth or speaking truth to myself or living authentically. That's one of my core values is to be authentic. And what does that really look like? So I'm still fleshing that out every day.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's like for those of us that have read the Bible and we read a certain passage for the 50th time and all of a sudden it hits us like a V8. And we've read it so often, it never talked to us like that before. I mean, we can have that moment again and again. So like Diana, I've had beautiful experiences in teaching this course. I've done it myself because I want to be authentic. And for me, that transformation really took hold. I went from that Jen that I described to you 15 years ago with blowing off the churning in my stomach and making excuses for it, to leaning in, being curious, what's going on? I'm not catastrophizing. I've learned how to manage my triggers, but just kind of go, what's going on? What's going on? And be free. And then I can go to Diana or Coach Elise or Leanne or Susan and say, hey, you guys know me really well. What are you seeing? What's the Lord seeing? And this has transformed me to the point now where I no longer feel anxious. I really, really don't. I'm not perfect at it. There are still moments, but not like the way it used to consume me. And I feel so safe because of what I've learned about myself and the safety of others. One thing that really transformed me, Diana, both through this content and in my own personal journey, is to not be intimidated by other women. I used to be so intimidated by other women. Bless you. I used to be so intimidated by other women, and I'm not anymore. Now I feel safe with other. And I used to, not that I felt like I had to, I don't know what I felt, but I just felt like I couldn't totally be me because they expected me to be something. And now I'm like, guys, if you don't love me because my house is messy, then I guess I don't want to be your friend. Or if you don't love me because I'm not perfect as a coach or as a nurse or as a mom, then I guess we're not meant to be. I'm okay with that now. And that's what this helps us. And that's what I've learned by teaching and walking through core strength myself. And it's a daily practice,
Right.
Yeah.
So if let's see, we need someone to put the information for the question tracker in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll try to do that now.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
And we do have some questions, so let's maybe get to some of those.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah, we do. We have some questions. So we've got some time left. We have a hard stop at the top of the hour. So first question. How do you react when your husband demeans, swears, belittles you, and you stand up for yourself and tell him that it's not okay and speak truth calmly? But his reaction is, that's right, you're a strong woman. No man is going to tell you X, Y, and Z.
I'm glad you're getting to know me. That's how I would react. I'm glad you're getting to know me.
I love it.
I am a strong woman, and I'm celebrating that.
Yep. Yeah, because I think what you just cut to the chase there is that I think he was being tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic, and you cut right through that. Instead of listening to the sarcasm, you heard the words and saying, you're right. I am a strong woman. Thank you.
Yeah. I always joke about this. My husband at one point, this is probably too revealing, but I remember one time we were walking and having a conversation on down the street, and he said, because I'm just not domestic. Let's be real, and he said, where's the woman I married? I said, she grew up and she's not coming back. Like I've learned who I am. I've learned what I'm willing to do, what I won't put up with,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what he was saying was, where is that person who, would cater to anything I wanted?
Yeah.
She's not here anymore.
Yeah. I know, I really do. And you're getting responses like Nellie says, I love it. I'm glad you're getting to know me. Now, if that isn't safe for you to do so, you can simply disengage. So
well, she's standing up for herself. Let's see. And telling him it's not okay. And so let's just talk a little bit about that piece. It's good you're standing up for yourself and you're saying that it's not okay. And he's coming back at you. We can't stop him from doing what he's going to do. But then at that point, you can decide, what you want to do when this occurs. Like, I can't stop my husband from belittling me or demeaning me, but I surely don't have to stand for it and expose myself to it.
Exactly. And I want to it may be semantics to you, but a big part of our hearts in core strength is changing the words reaction to response.
Yeah.
And you heard me earlier say I wasn't pausing long enough to get curious about the churning in my stomach. So I may have reacted to that. I probably did back then. And now what I've learned through walking in core strength is I don't react to things because I've paused long enough to notice what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I choose my best response given the circumstances. So it's calmer. It's usually grounded in the Lord, grounded in our body so that we can show up as our best godly self. So your response might be to that is maybe a comment like Diana's, or I guess we just see things differently and you walk away. You've stood up for yourself. And with a comment like that, it doesn't sound like he's really open to hearing. So you're going to fall prey to jading, which we talk about. Don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. You're going to maybe fall into that trap. Don't do that. Don't throw pearls before swine. You've stood up for yourself. And if he's not going to hear you, you can disengage.
Yeah, there's things you can do. You can look at him and you can say, "That's interesting."
Mm-hmm.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
Um, the thing that I like about what you said, Jen, about I could choose not to react,
Mm-hmm.
um, is along with that choice not to react, I can choose not to engage, not to take on, not to
Yeah.
take in what is happening that
Yeah.
is challenging, difficult, or destructive. I can choose that. I don't have to enter into that space emotionally, physically, spiritually, disengaged.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. That's really good.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of conversations you can have with women in the group or outside the group. We encourage connection in between our 90 minutes together as well. So you'll
Yeah.
find some women that can really support you through some of these specific challenges, right? So here's another question, if we may move on for the time that we have left.
Sure.
What are some good ways I can raise my self-esteem to a healthy level? I have talked with my husband twice about, is he emotionally cheating? He says he's not, but for some reason I don't believe him. I still get this gut feeling that he may be. I'm wanting to figure out if it's true or if it's me being fearful. So I guess I'm hearing from that your self-esteem is rocked because he might be turning to another woman emotionally, right? So what are good ways to raise my self-esteem? There's
When you
lots of good ways. Yeah, no, I mean, it's knowing who you are in Christ, right? Not depending on someone else's opinion of you to feel valuable. I know it's important. I know our worldly flesh calls us to, I want Diana to like me. I do. I really do. I want my husband to value me, but I can't live just for that validation. I have to get it from within and then accept it graciously when someone externally gives it to me as well. So I would question, what your belief systems are about why you have to take that external validation as everything to you, things like that. What do you think, Diana?
Oh boy, that is such a big question,
Mhm.
and, I think that if you have low self-esteem, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Um, I think that, I'm multimodal, so I come at it from a lot of different avenues, but the first thing that I would suggest is, taking in elements of scripture that speak to who I am, because you know as a coach and a therapist, we got all this self-esteem literature, and it says that you're valuable just because you're human. Well, that doesn't say enough. Why are we
Mhm.
really valuable? And who does God say that we are, right? So it starts there
Mhm.
with and there are a lot of different techniques that you can step into for really developing your self-image. We talk about one of them where we look, give yourself a scripture, plug your name into it. You can go to the open Bible and put in, who does God say that I am? And you'll get 100 scriptures. You can personalize those. You can look in a mirror literally, and your
Mhm.
brain does not know that you're somebody else. And you can speak to yourself and you just work at it like we do with all of this stuff. We're working on this core self of who I am. And a part of that is rebuilding what's been diminished. So we start with scripture, who God says we are. And
Mhm.
that's our foundation. And then we seek relationships that are caring for us, right? We establish boundaries. We start treating ourselves as if we matter, you know? So treating myself as if I matter means I'm not going to put up with certain things anymore in a relationship. One of the things I did, which I think is just silly that I had to think of it, right? But I just started noticing relationships in which I was always making the initiative and it wasn't responded. And I just stepped into accepting, oh, it's not a two-way relationship. Maybe I'll go find someone who wants that reciprocal kind of thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's a way of building your self-esteem because I'm caring for myself, right?
Yes. It's
Right.
self-care and it's surrounding yourself with positive influences.
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes.
I know we can't always have that, but if you have it more often than not, you can handle the not times.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're otherwise surrounded with people not that fluff you up unnecessarily or not with authenticity, but for people that genuinely care about you for who you are. You need to be around those people so you can feel safe and accepted while you're channeling how God sees you, right? Because God does not make junk. We have to remember that. And so, first and foremost, He loves us more than anything and anyone ever possibly could. And so that will help you build your self esteem, practicing gratitude about yourself, as well
Yeah.
as just other things around you can help boost your spirits that way as well. So there's lots of good things that we can do.
Well, here's the thing, and I wanna ask this question.
Mhm,
Um, you're asking this question, "How can I work on it?" So let me ask you, have you considered doing walking in core strength with us?
mhm.
Because that's the work. That's
Yeah.
the work that we're calling you to, and if not, what would be your reasons? Which we're always wanting to know your reasons so that we can really tailor what we do toward making it the opportunities available, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I would always say, and Leslie calls it changing the dance steps, and for years I've been saying, if one of you changes, the whole relationship changes. And we can only control ourselves. So that's what walking in core strength does is it allows us, it's a gift for us. It's focused time on looking inward, looking at us in conjunction with the Lord, with the support of other women to be able to explore some of these things. And when you grow stronger in your self-esteem and confidence and all of those things because of this program, your relationship's going to change. It is. Someone said something. I think it might have been Mary. And I'm going to have to paraphrase because it's gone now. But she said something like that. Her husband said, I want the old you back. And she's like, my doormat days are over.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because now we can assert ourselves. And that's part of
So
the transformation is speaking our voice with love.
absolutely. I, um, I had, someone had asked, "What are the self-esteem
Mhm.
verses?" And the self-esteem verses are, "Who does God say that you are?" So I put that link in the chat.
Thank you. I saw that. I was going to do that too. So you're brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We are getting really close to the end of time. Do we have time for another question?
Mm. So we're going to take questions around the topic of how
Mhm.
do I build myself up and step into wellness. Um, so let me look here. So let's see. Here's a question about. All right. So I'm just going to paraphrase.
Mhm.
Long-term marriage. A guy who works hard. He's easygoing. But he has deep issues with conflict and leans into some destructive and mean behavior, which is kind of underhanded and hidden. Um, and so she's reading Leslie's work and desperately searching, has finally woke up and realized that what she's experiencing is a deep, destructive emotional abuse. So it's not just challenging, it's destructive, right?
Mhm.
So let's see, have made some changes just to do in-home separation. Not ready, not strong enough to leave yet, and I don't know if he'll change or not. And let's see, what do I say? I won't be able to hide where oh, so what do I say to the kids?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, there's so much here. Well, I'll answer that. What do I say?
Mhm.
Well, the first thing is, what do you want them to know? What is truth without revealing all of the sordid details? So what's necessary for them to really understand maybe your choices, but I'm not sure what they really need to know at this point unless you've decided to do something different.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about uncovering and getting truthful with what you're afraid of.
Well, yeah, first you got to speak truth to yourself before
Yeah.
you try to speak truth to somebody else, and you have to figure out what is that.
Yeah.
You know,
What
that
is your truth?
and that's really core, the C step. I'm going to be committed to truth inside and out. So first the reality is, where am I at with this?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we want to jump to have a conversation before we really even know
Yeah.
how to process what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what I wanted to back up to and say, like what's stopping me?
so many of you, like you ask, this is a very deep question, and there's so many nuances to this.
Mhm.
So we could have some general responses, but this is something you would really need some coaching around.
Yeah.
And whether you do it with us or you do it with someone else, but you
Mhm.
would need coaching around someone who really understands those dynamics and can help you think through who you want to be, how strong you want to be, and what's important to say, what's best not to say, and how do I move forward from here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see the kids are going to be moving home and they're going to be knowing. And I think a general answer would be if they're asking, why are you not sleeping with dad? Like, well, what do you need? What do you want to know? You might want to ask, what do you want to know? And you might have some key statements like, well, I no longer feel comfortable. I'm not
Mhm.
being treated well. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I like to rest easy, and I find that's the best way for me too. You
Yeah.
don't wanna lie, you
Yeah.
wanna be as honest as possible. Sometimes we don't speak openly the truth to a destructive other if it's gonna cost us our safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
what I'm hearing too with what you're saying, Diana, is that we want to be, and this is where you might need some extra help, is around we want to be in alignment with our values. That's going to create some wellness because it translates into peace. If I'm upholding my values, so if I'm lying to my kids, oh, it's because dad snores, and that's not true. Like you might have some heartache around that for having lied
Right.
to your kids. That's not walking in honesty if honesty is something you value. So like Diana was saying, how can I tell the truth but without revealing every little sordid detail, right? So work with somebody or a trusted friend, a safe person to help you process what the ideal thing would be, and with someone that really does understand your dynamics, right?
Right. Yeah,
It's
because your word you don't want to just you need some time to process
yeah.
this and to have someone ask you, and that's really what coaching is all about, is drawing out the details and effectively have
Hmm.
what you need to make a good decision and know how you want to move forward and walk that out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jen, I want to ask at this time, I know we have a hard stop
Yep,
in like
we do. We
2
have to keep
minutes.
going, ladies.
So I want to thank you for being with us. Before we go, I would like you to please let us know what has been significant for you from our conversation today, and what has been helpful for you around the topic. If you'd put that in the chat for us, that would be so wonderful. And we're
Mhm.
so grateful to you for doing that, for participating and being here with us. We look forward to those of you that are called to do some deeper work to join us in in the next opportunity that you have, which will be in a week, right?
Yeah, you still have time. You still have
Yeah.
time. So,
Yeah.
and the sooner you can do it, the better, not only for the spaces that are limited, but I know all the coaches, Diana and I especially love to read, some of your background. There's some information that we get from you that we pray over and we read to get to know you a little bit before we even meet you for the first time. So make sure you're not rushed into doing that if this is something that you want to do, and you can kind of hit the ground running. I think, and for just participating in this, we hope that you get some hope for your future, whatever that may be, and that you can take away something today that we want to hear about that will help you cultivate wellness in a challenging situation. You've all lifted me up today. Like some of these definitions have blown my
Oh,
mind. Like this is fantastic.
I love
So
that
thank
moral fortitude.
yes.
I love your analogy of cultivating the
Yeah,
garden. I love
thinking
that
of
too.
garden and and then people were saying turning up the hardened soil. Like, oh my gosh, like
Right?
together we are brilliant. I love this. I love this. So
So thank you. Keep
thank you,
letting us
everybody. We'll
know.
see you in Walking in Core Strength. I think we have another Facebook Live possibly on Monday around noon. So stay tuned for that. But we just love having you here. And we are just so grateful for your presence and your participation. Thank you to Julie and Jessica as our support. So, and for jumping in for Karen, who we hope her power comes back on soon. So, anyway, until next time, take care and keep the conversation going. Okay. God bless.
God bless you.
Bye now.
Bye bye.